Yes, now bless now people. Don't forget rest now. Des Rocksteady at King of the Pit TV signing in. We just listened to The Moon and Antarctica by Modest Mouse. It was recommended on the Patreon by my good friend Gary, who prior to this put forth another Modest Mouse record. I've enjoyed them both. It's a fascinating band. A fascinating band. So there's 15 tracks on this record. They don't waste any of them tunes. They don't waste any of the time they've got. There's no filler. It's all very cohesive. It runs smooth. It's cool. I think I mentioned this about the other Modest Mouse record I heard. It feels like it's not been produced by a drummer. It feels like it's been produced by a guitarist. And I say that because there is a unspoken of theme when it comes to producers and sound engineers, that if they play an instrument themselves, they tend to be so in tune with paying attention to that instrument. It tends to be amplified and polished a little bit more in the mix, and the guitars are very full frontal, whereas unlike many records, the drums are reeled into the back, whereas normally they just have big booming drums, especially when you got a high quality, well paid for, well produced record. The drums are like, really emphasized and sound great. I think great would be an overstatement. They sound good on this record, but the guitars are at the forefront, Production overall good. This band has got a dark sound on this record. There's an emotive sound, there's an interpretive sound, but overall the soundscape, quite a dark sound, not a very light sound. If you know where I'm coming from, I'm just describing what I hear. We all pick up on things differently. I'm not a theoretical sort of dude. I just tell you how I sort of, pay attention to these things. I like the lyrical content on here, so we'll start off with there. I spoke on this during the listen through. The lyrical content is good because it's poetic in a sense. It's lyrical as opposed to, writing by numbers, pop song sense. It's quite in-depth, quite metaphorical at times, but it makes sense. There's a lot of arty-farty bands that are just like, oh, we're going to create lyrical content that's really smart and deep. And it's just nonsensical because they just use random words and it's like, what the fuck? This band doesn't do that. There's a lot of good value and food for thought within the lyrical content. And conceptually speaking, that, it's not, what's the term? I don't know. The guy's definitely not tooting at his own horn when he's putting his pen to paper. He's writing good lyrical content, and not only is it good from a egocentric point of view because he's expressing himself creatively, but it's good because there's also a degree of empath in there where it reaches out and connects with the audience, connects with the market, because sometimes it can just be so self-indulged that it just pleases the artist and it just doesn't correlate with the people. But I liked a lot of the lyrical content. The vocal performance, not necessarily wholly for me. I'm not big on the whole shouting thing. In some genres of music, more so than others, yeah, definitely. But when it comes to this band, I'm not too fussed on the shouting. I like the melodies. I'd prefer to hear a melody than, some harsher tones. That's just my personal opinion when it comes to, the instrumental and the backing that is the canvas of the vocal line. Guitars are really good, just as we had on the other record. A lot of twinkling going on, a lot of broken chords. It seems this band tends to focus on the broken chords a little more so than your chords, a little more so than your standard riffing music. A lot of broken chords, a lot of dual guitar broken chords playing different things at the same time, creating a great substance. A relatively clean record as far as, distortion is concerned. A lot of clean guitars. Bassist does their thing, not too bad at all. Drummer does their thing, not too bad at all. Although, the drummer sometimes you think, oh, is he not here or is he here? Because, it tends to be held behind the mix a lot. And it seems to me, as far as the comments are concerned, that drummer was a very loved member of the band. So you got to put some respect on there. So yeah, not a bad record. Not a bad record. Quite an emotive record. There's definitely an emotional value given it hits you at the right time. You know, if I was going for a little bit of a walk when I was younger, and I tend to associate things when I was younger because, bro, we all know as we get older, we get a tough skin, man, which is a blessing and a curse because I would love to be able to associate and feel and get involved with music on the emotional level I could do as a younger man, but now I'm just, I'm a grown man, so sometimes it's hard to connect with emotional input and output of these musical projects. But definitely, if I'd smoked a bifter and I was going for a nighttime walk and I was just listening to some music, I probably would have heard a different element as to what I have done today. I can identify that, which is good. And I know a lot of people would identify themselves with the emotional context or what they project upon the music of this band. That being said, I'll give it a 6.5. Give it a 6.5. I don't know what I gave the other record. It's a good project. It's a good record. It's full. It's whole. Sounds well. Definitely a lot of money that's been invested into this with the studio recording. Just generally speaking, it's not necessarily something I would listen to. It's something I can appreciate. But I'm either listening to harsher music, or when it comes to indie bands, poppier bands, rockier bands, alternate rock bands and so forth, I like more basic. And all due respect to Modest Mouse, this is a compliment, right? I like more basic music. I like just hooks and melodies and, basically pop songs disguised as garage rock or so on and so forth. But with that being said, this is a great project and I can't hate, and it's been fantastic to delve into this band, most definite. I'm signing out. I'll say one love and I'll see you on the flip side. Peace.